Good evening and warm welcome to all the participants. Very happy to see all of you this evening on Friday. This is the 199th session, and we are also joined by the speaker, Mr. P.R. Ramesh. I welcome Mr. P.R. Ramesh. Sir, please join. Good evening, sir.
Good evening, sir.
All of us from ICFAI and all the people who have joined today around the screen, they actually join me in welcoming you, sir. Thank you for sparing your time for this session. Ladies and gentlemen, this is a very, very distinguished speaker, a remarkable leader, an impeccable career track record, and we'll have a lot of things to learn from him in the next 60 minutes. Allow me to share my screen. I'll make a brief introduction. That's a difficulty, but let me try. This is Mr. P.R. Ramesh. With over 4 decades of exemplary service, Mr. Ramesh is widely regarded as one of India's foremost voices in finance, corporate governance, and institutional development. A fellow member of the ICAI and a commerce graduate from Osmania University, he has combined technical excellence with visionary leadership across corporate, regulatory, and policy spectrum. Mr. Ramesh is best known for his role as chairman of Deloitte India and for his leadership on the Deloitte Global Board and the Deloitte Asia Pacific Board. His tenure saw Deloitte emerge as a trusted advisor to some of the largest institutions in the country, while also shaping global best practices in the Indian context. He currently serves as an independent director on various boards of high-profile companies, including Nestle India, L&T, Cipla, Crompton Greaves Consumer Electricals, Air India Express, ITC Hotels, and NSC Investments. At Nestle India, he chairs the audit committee and contributes to the nomination and remuneration committee, underlining his continued leadership in governance and oversight. In recognition of his exceptional contributions, he was recently inducted into the Hall of Fame Accounting in India 2025, which is an honor that celebrates professionals who have significantly influenced India's financial reporting landscape and upheld the highest standards of integrity and ethics. This landmark recognition joins his earlier accolade as Best Independent Director for 22-23 by the Asian Center for Corporate Governance and Sustainability. Well, in terms of advisory roles, he influences various other boards and committees that he chairs, and he is a member of various other boards as well. Some of them are SEBI's High-Powered Advisory Committee for Settlement of Enforcement Actions, the SCODA of SEBI, Government of India's Committee on Regulatory Reform for Doing Business, and many more. Mr. Ramesh is also the co-author of the widely respected IGAP Financial Reporting Standards in India and continues to serve as chairman of the Insolvency Research Foundation. He is an empaneled IFRS expert with the IMF. He is a thought leader, a passionate educator. He has lectured widely at forums organized by ICAI, SEBI, RBI, CII, and various other bodies across the globe. He also continues his association with Osmania University by being on their Board of Studies in Commerce. Mr. Ramesh's journey is not just a story of career success, it is a testament to purpose, credibility, and institutional impact. His career has seamlessly bridged technical excellence, ethical clarity, and national service. Wow, wonderful, sir. Thank you so much for agreeing to spend this evening with us. And I welcome you to this conversation, sir. We have the opening remarks now delivered by sir. And after that, we'll have 2 clusters of questions. I request all of you to keep your questions ready. And in the second cluster, we'll open the mic for you to ask your question directly with him. Now, once again, I thank all the distinguished members who have joined this evening. On a Friday evening, they have shown keenness in learning. I welcome all of you. I welcome Dr. Amit Badra, who has joined from Mumbai. Welcome, sir. And over to Mr. Ramesh. Over to you, sir. Thank you.
Okay. Sudhakar Garu, thank you very much for those kind words of introduction. Dr. Prasad, thank you for this opportunity. In the next 30 minutes, I'll try and hopefully meet your expectations. And I'm really looking forward to the questions because a lot of it will come in interactions. I've put some slides together. I can't say some, it's actually a lot. It is also in the current cricket season, so it'll have some cricket images, but a lot of images for sure. And thank you for this title on charting a leadership in a rapidly changing technology world. You know, people ask about jobs. Whenever somebody comes to me for a job, I say, jobs, I will not give you a job, nor will I try a job for you. Nobody comes and says, I want to be a leader, I want to develop a career. And people mix up jobs with careers and leadership, and therefore it's important that everybody charts a role given the so rapidly changing environment. You heard a lot about my introduction, but maybe a large part of the past was in a fairly steady environment, which now is an extremely turbulent environment, fast changing, and therefore let's have a quick look at what's happening around the world today. I'll be fast, but you reserve your questions so that you can. You see, today, as Ray Kurzweil said, and I've met Ray Kurzweil also, he says we are going to experience 20,000 years of technological change over the next 100 years. So if you're talking about 20,000 years of technological change in the next 100 years, you're talking of each year an equivalent of 200 years of change. That's the rapidity of change. Everything is replaced by technology, no physical records. And technology, we're moving from micro to nano and even more smaller than smaller. And data in millions of milliseconds, transactions recorded all over the world, geographical location is irrelevant. And then you have, as a result of it, disruption, dematerialization, democratization of data, a whole host of things. If you just look back in time in 1956 and just look at this example, the 5 MB storage required was the size of 2 refrigerators. Today, if I talk 5 MB, they'll laugh at me, right? And it goes on and on and on. This is just an example of storage, and it went on to the extent of the size of those gadgets in those days to how it is now. Even as late as 1980, the world's first 1 GB hard drive was the size of 1 refrigerator. Today, you can have 1 TB in a small strip, in a small, shall I say, memory card. And that's where storage has moved. Speed has moved also dramatically. And then with all the developments in sensors and the development in connectivity, etc., it's blurred the distinction between physical and digital, humans and machines. Everything is getting blurred. There is congruence in all of it. And that itself is a huge disruption. As they say today, if you look at some of these things, the buzzword is Industry 4.0, but maybe it will soon become 5.0, where there's a congruence of the digital world, the physical world, and the biological world. This will impact everybody. It impacts professions, it impacts professionals, it impacts entities, it impacts educational institutions, it impacts individuals. And look at the way it is. Systems can pick you out from a crowd today. They can read your lips. Micro expressions can be gauged to understand your feeling. And then we talk of AI, and what we're talking of AI today is basic. It's artificial intelligence at basic level. It has to move to artificial general intelligence, to artificial superintelligence to replicate the human world. And look at this Google Talk to Books. It responds by reading 120,000 books in half a second. Can anyone of us do it? Now, this is where the world is moving. And in this, we have to shape our roles and our future. And the world has also moved from emphasis on hindsight, which is irrelevant now. In a fast-changing world, nobody wants, even present is becoming outdated. It is foresight which becomes important, and that's why you're talking of new technologies, predictive analytics, and a whole host of things, including digital products which are there. And therefore, this VUCA world, which we're talking about, is in a way outdated. They talk of it as a bunny world now, which is brittle, anxious, non-linear, incomprehensible. There are public outcries towards morality. There is emphasis on CSR. And you see what's happening around today, even in the geopolitical sphere. And added to that is that big generation of yours, a large part of y'all, which is millennials, who's so different from what I am. Your expectations are different. Your attention span is different. And I'll give you an example. And what's your phobia? Nomophobia, they say. Fear of, not being with your phone. I mean, people get up with the phone, they sleep with the phone, they breathe with the phone, with everything. This is how it is. People who go for a jogging in the past, they would go and then energize themselves. Nowadays, as soon as they finish jogging, they take a selfie and update their status on Facebook. And that's how it is. This is the world, and this is the disruptive world where organizations which are once giants have disappeared. And what will happen to these organizations will happen to a lot of industries in the next decade. We won't even see it coming. We don't know whether Google is a competitor for Toyota or whether a Tesla car is a computer on wheels or is it a car with a computer. Those distinctions are also blurring. There are lots of interesting predictions. Even petrol gas stations will go away. Electric world. This is the world. As they say, in the next 10 years, 40% of Fortune 500 companies will be gone. And then look at the number of devices connected to the internet. Stanford researchers predict that there will be 500 billion connected devices, which is a huge multiple of the world's population itself. And 3 billion new minds will join the internet in the next 5 years. It's a connected world. It's a fast-paced world. It's a world which is significantly being driven by technology and huge volumes of data. The volumes of data which are produced today in one day maybe is equal to several years of data. And today we would have generated data with a multiple from the inception of mankind. And that's the way it is. So therefore, what is the message? If you have to chart your course, first is you have to start introspecting with the realization that you may have been successful people, but after success, you need to start understanding, you need to introspect to say, what contributed by success? So the past is not going to be the present or the future. Your elements which contributed to your success in the past are not going to be the elements which will contribute to your success in future. So you have to ask yourself some questions about it. Will the same factors continue to give successful results? Was my past because I was at the right place at the right time? Was it a stroke of luck? Whatever, you look at anybody's profile. It could be because of a stroke of luck. It could be because they had no competition. I didn't have bright people in my class, therefore I stood first rank. Was it temporary that I got the right question paper and therefore lucky to have passed? Whatever it may be. And then look at the present. How vulnerable am I? Ask yourself that question. What are the gaps in my skill sets with the way the world is changing? Am I different from others? If I'm not different from others, then I have a very bleak future. So you should ask yourself, what will the future be? Will it be the same game? Will it be a new game, new players, new skill sets? How do we fill the gap? How do changes in the market affect me? All of these are elements which, and then people tend to externalize blame if they're not successful. They start, discounting all the negative results which may be. And that is why you need to consider it. But remember one thing, setbacks will happen. In anyone's growth, in one's charting one's career, it will happen. As they say, failure is not in falling down, but failing to get up from your lowest moment. So even if you feel you're low today, just don't bother. And then let's start building your own brand. Start charting your career, a leadership career in this fast-paced technology world. So what does it mean to them? You should be known for something. You should be able to define your identity. Leadership is you need to set goals for it. And I'll take you through some of the elements of this. Clearly, all of us need to innovate in different ways. I mean, you can't be static in today's world. And you ask yourself, I repeat these questions, why am I successful? What do I owe my success to? If I continue to do what I today, will I be successful in future? I think Albert Einstein said this, insanity is doing the same thing over and over again and expecting different results. You can't get different results if you do the same thing over. So the key issue is, how will you be relevant? Now, if I am where I am, and I keep asking myself daily, why am I wanted? Am I relevant? It's not about which positions I hold. The question is, am I still relevant? Because organizations may change, those positions may not be needed. And that is why, as this cartoon says, you're not being replaced by a robot, you're being replaced by someone who understands the robots. And that is why the first element is self-awareness. What's my own impression of myself? It's always a bloated impression. I think I'm great. Of course, my wife may not think so. That's a different aspect. What are my skill sets? What do I know? Will what I know be relevant in perpetuity? Who should I know to be the most wanted professional? Whom do I know as of now? What have I done in the last 1 year? Birthdays, in my view, have always been days of introspection. They're not days of celebration because one more year has gone by. Have I changed in that 1 year? Have I moved ahead? And these are the questions. What have I achieved? What am I known in the marketplace for? How do my colleagues perceive me? What recognition have I achieved? Who are my followers? Am I a magnet for talent? Do people recognize and come to me? That is critical all the time. Look in the mirror and ask these questions. If the answer to this, most of these are no, then I think you need to seriously start working on your strengths, on your weaknesses, on your developmental needs, your aspirations, and say, who are my role models? What would I like to be like? How do I get to it? And it reminds me of a book written by Professor Carlton and Christensen. He's no more. He's a Harvard professor. He wrote a book called How Will You Measure Life? He reflects back on the class in Harvard when he started in Harvard. And as you know, Harvard has the best brains. It's very difficult to get admission. All are talented people. And he reflects back saying, after 35 years, where are my classmates? Why is it some are Fortune 500 CEOs? Why is it some are in jail? Why is it some are failed? All got the best input. But where are they today? What changes those? So I think if you do not read the tea leaves, if you do not smell the coffee brewing, if you do not recognize the signals and start working towards the change in this rapid world, you will be in the Jurassic Park of professionals. And they say changing habits is like a long flight of stairs. It's easier to do when you're young, but the older you get, it becomes, and improvement is what you see a need in other people, but can't see the same need in yourself. That's why they say it is all right to be ignorant, but it's stupid to make a career out of ignorance. I'm being a little harsh here, but please remember, equally, you need to understand your emotional balance. Who do I meet? What pains me? What pleases me? And you need to have the passion for success. As the slide says, failures are divided between those who thought and never did, and those who did and never thought. Many people are not failures. They just started at the bottom and they liked it. Man gave two ends, one to sit on and one to think with. Which end you use depends on your success or failure. Doing nothing, as they say, is a tiresome job in the world because you cannot stop and rest. You cannot stop by doing nothing. Even game has changed. You see how the test cricket has now today changed to T20. Look at this gentleman, Amitabh Bachchan, how he's changed from where he was to when you see him in Paumbaraj or Crorepati at this advanced stage. Look at the career changes he has made. Look at how he's continued to earn respect. That is the transformation which you see in yourself. And as they say in cricket, there will be power play. It is fast, it's agile. You need to take risks. You need to change your outlook, attack over defense, as they say. So when you come to career, a career is like a limited over cricket match. I'll tell you why. Because in a limited over cricket match, the first few overs is not indicative of how the game will end. You need to plan the remaining part of your career while in the initial period. In the initial period, happy, I've joined a great organization, my salary is good, is what people say. That's irrelevant. It's what will be the future. How will you be and where will you be in that organization? So it is working on the second part of the game whilst doing the first part of the game. Always, that's why they will say required run rate, etc. in cricket, which gives you where you are towards your goal. And as you go up, your needs change. This is a very familiar slide. Your physiological needs will disappear and more you look for esteem and self-actualization. But people remember one thing. People almost always tend to confuse time as experience and skill sets. People say, I have 39 years experience. 39 years is time. Experience is what you have achieved, what you have earned. I can say, based on my age of 70, the number of multiplied by the number of hours I've slept, I can say I'm an experienced sleeper. It doesn't mean anything at all. In running, what does a marathon runner do? A marathon runner each time reduces the time taken to reach destination. That's improvement. It's not the number of hours he's run. It is, and that is why you never quote the number of years you are in an organization as much as what you have actually achieved. And you need to do that extra stretching to succeed. You can't be static. And it's never give up. It's never over till the very last ball, as they say in cricket. Same for you in here. So how do you build personal evidence? As Sudhakar Rao Garu introduced in my own profile, He says technical excellence and leadership. I didn't give up technical excellence. Even today, I'm involved in drafting of technical standards. And that is something you should never give up. Continuous learning is important. Mobility. I have been all across the country and across the world. It would have been great to stay in Hyderabad in my comfort zone with my family. But if you want to succeed, you should be willing to be mobile and seek opportunities rather than wait for the shower of opportunities to fall where you are there. You need great soft skills, great communication skills, and most importantly, personal values of empathy, humility, etc. And they say, understand how others view you. Start looking into the mirror. And this is critical. It is true that not everyone has a comfortable life. Some have a difficult life, but there is a place for everyone. Don't think there is no place for you. And as they say in anything, don't overcommit and underdeliver. So what are the, when in this fast changing world, we called Thomas Friedman, who wrote that book, The World is Flat. And we asked him, in this fast changing world, what should people do? How will they survive? Because every skill set is going to become irrelevant. He said 5 things, and I'll show you those 5 things. He said, first, think like an immigrant. Let's say you're an immigrant in Syria or Lebanon or wherever it is. From there, you start moving towards Europe to Germany. You're in a new geography, you're in a new language, new food habits, new weather. Everything is new. All what you did in the past is over. Is irrelevant. The language is irrelevant. Currency is irrelevant. Qualifications are irrelevant. And that is how you should think in current world. Start thinking, what if all what I've done becomes irrelevant? How should I? And that's why that continuous learning. Second, he said, think like an artisan, meaning if you're the same as everybody else, you will be displaced along with everybody else. Whereas some say, okay, I go to this doctor because he has that personal touch. He's different from others. So you need to think like an artisan. And he says, you always be in beta mode. You are never in production mode because of the fast changing world. But most importantly, he gave a formula. He said, which I have modified it, mind you. His formula was PQ plus CQ is greater than IQ. I have modified it as PQ plus CQ plus EQ plus HQ is greater than IQ, meaning passion quotient. You need to have great passion. If you have no passion, you have no future. CQ is a curiosity quotient. In a fast-changing technology world, what people tend to do? Oh, my grandchild knows to operate this. I don't know. If your grandchild can know who's decades younger than you, why can't you? It's that you have lost that curiosity quotient. Why not? You have to keep asking why not. And then EQ is the emotional quotient, and HQ is you don't be a robot, you have to be human, and human quotient. I'll come to the human values later. Now, leadership. So, therefore, as you do develop in all this, you also want to be a leader, right? You need to understand what leadership is about. The different types of leaders. There is knowledge leader, principle-centered leader, servant leader, charismatic leader, visionary leader. Each has different times and each has different sets of people you can relate to, whether it's Mahatma Gandhi, Steve Jobs is visionary, whole host of things. But remember, leadership is not position or title. I've always had this problem in organizations. People say, he got promoted, I didn't get promoted. Hey, that's position, that is title. That is not leadership. Are you known? Are you known in the marketplace? How does it matter? Some say I'm vice president. Doesn't matter. Maybe you have more vices than being really. That's why you're called vice president. Who knows? It's about leadership. And that is why a leader, why do people emerge leaders? It is because of character, who they are. It's about relationships, who they know. It's about knowledge, what they know. It's about intuition, what they feel. It's about experience, where they have been. Okay, he's got this great experience. He's held so many positions, etc. It's about past success, about what they have done. And it's about ability and what they do. A leader should have all of these. It's not title. Please start working on each of these if you don't. And it is fundamental, is about earning respect. And respect is not demanded, it is earned. It's earned by building trust, transparency in actions, owning failures. Satish Dhawan example, I don't have time, otherwise I will explain some of those. And equally showing respect to others A leader has to lead by example, to walk the talk and what you preach. And clearly, of course, we talk about this. The leader has to have vision, he should have sense of urgency, passion we spoke about, teamwork. As they say, gaining respect itself follows a pattern. When people respect you as a person, they admire you. When they respect you as a friend, they love you. When they respect you as a leader, they follow you. And that's important. And you must make a sacrifice. I spoke about, and remember, it's collective success, which is important. Now, the next 5 minutes give you some final thoughts and then take questions because 30 minutes will get over soon, or I actually cross time. There are 4 H's you must remember if you want to be a successful person. First H is healthy. You can have all the knowledge in the world, you can be the richest person in the world, but if you're not the healthiest, if you don't have health, the wealth doesn't mean anything, the knowledge doesn't mean anything. You have to be fit for life. Healthy habits, a regular plan of exercise is fundamental. No use saying I have this knowledge, I'm a PhD, I'm Dr. So and so, or I have this wealth, I'm equivalent to Mr. Ambani, I'm as wealthy as him. But if you're not healthy, it's of no use. The second critical principle is honesty, integrity, even when there is no oversight. Being conscious of the distinction between office and personal. People tend to think, oh, printing paper, my child needs to write an essay, so he'll take from the printer in the office, take some paper home, or photocopy personal things in the office, take stapler, take pencil, eraser. There's a distinction between office and personal. There is a ethics which you should be conscious of. Then you should have hunger for success. That's the passion I spoke about, hunger for knowledge, hunger to execute. If you don't have hunger and you're laid back, you'll never be a successful person. And to be a successful person, you also have to be human. People will respect you. You have to be humble, you have to be cheerful, you should have concern for your colleagues, you should be benevolent, you should have control over your emotions, you should have that emotional quotient which I spoke about. You should be grateful. As they say, you make a living by what you earn. You make a life by what you give. So you have to give also. Money, achievement, fame, all this I've spoken about. Health, honesty, as I said, live your life that your autograph will be wanted, not your fingerprints. And being human is fundamental. The person who's human will attract more people. They say the open hand holds more friends than a closed fist. And of course, hunger. If a person with burning ambition is seldom fired, you can look at it that way. You can gauge a man's ambition by whether he hits the alarm clock or consider it his friend. So the world around us is changing and we need to transform. I'll give you one example of this guy, Mike May. At the age of 6 or 7, he was injured in a chemical explosion and he was blind. He never gave up life. He holds the world record for downhill skiing by a person who's completely blind. At the age of 46, he regained partial vision because there was a transplant. 30 days, he couldn't even pick up a cup because his whole brain was used to sensory signals coming from different places other than the eye. So when he got back some of his eyes, his brain went confused. But that is what it is. It's about adversity which builds character. There are many examples, Arunimas, Mark Inglis, who the first double amputee to climb the Mount Everest. And that's what transformation is. And some concluding thoughts, where you stand determines what others perceive of you. And it's important you reach that position. We may not be responsible for many things that happen, but we are responsible for the way we react when that happens. And if you like to keep your feet on the ground, you need to shoulder some responsibilities. Don't subcontract your career. You have to share. Oh, I've left it to my boss. He will decide. My organization. You blame everybody. Don't subcontract. It's in your hands. And make that wow a verb, which is part of your everyday vocabulary. Try and wow everybody. These are saying, here was a towel arrangement in a hotel where I stayed. I said, wow, when I entered the hotel room. And when you look at some of these features, as they say, new ideas hurt some minds, same as new shoes hurt some feet. But people do not resist change, but people resist being changed. And change your life, else your life will be a blank sheet. And they say people do not change because they see light, but only when they feel the heat. You need some pressure on you, and that is the hard reality. Try and use whatever you have. Oh, I am not rich. I don't have this. I don't have that. I don't have a tube light at home. I have known vegetable vendors' children completing CA. I have known from very impoverished people today making a mark in their life. There are many, many leaders in the world also who are that. In one lifetime, they've been from where they were to where they are now is amazing. And fundamentally remember, don't be technology myopic. Use technology extensively. People used to ask me why I change my watch every time, why I change my gadget every time. They said, your watch told the time, isn't it? Earlier also, this also tells you the time. It's about the curiosity quotient. It's about using latest technology. It's understanding the present, understanding the potential of the future, all of it. And that's why you need to be technology savvy. And you seek innovative solutions all the time and take everybody inclusive. Don't walk alone. Don't eat alone. And together, you can make a stream of success. Your contribution is integral. And remember, make an impact that matters. Create your own rituals, design your own symbols for success, live your own stories. I've said a lot of things, but don't listen to me for just as a preacher. Listen to my advice not because I'm always right, but because I have more experience in being wrong. And that is why I'm an old man. And as old men, they tend to give more advice. And as you know, advice is one commodity where supply exceeds demand. So pardon me if I've given a lot of advice with a few slides. And our last slide, you must be the change you wish to see in the world, is what Mahatma Gandhi said. Thank you very much. Sudhakar, I hope I have been on time.
Thank you, sir. Thank you very much for packing in quite a few things in this 20 minutes. Supposed to be 20 minutes, but as it has gone to 30 minutes. Thank you, sir. I think one important thing that we remember in your opening remarks is the metric that you have tried to put for change. The 20 years of change, 200 years of change per year is, I think, the magnitude is going to change or alter every next year. But that's interesting. And but a large part of the talk has been about the sweeping changes that are happening around the world and how we need to position ourselves, how we need to differentiate ourselves. And then a lot of self-help tips that you have shared will go a long way in trying to understand oneself first and then accordingly pitch oneself towards the opportunities that are actually lurking around the corner. Everywhere you see people confusing from careers to jobs and also confusing the number of years that they have spent in organizations with experience. I think every single word, right from the beginning towards the end, you have tried to give them some clarity, look at it afresh, and then move forward with a lot of motivation. Some of it they would have heard before, but a lot of it we'll try and read between the lines in the questions that we are going to raise now. I request all the members to be ready with their questions and make it more interesting and also generate a huge number of takeaways for all of us around the screen. This is actually going live on Facebook apart from the Zoom live. Thank you so much, all the members who have joined. I want to thank Mr. P.R. Ramesh as well. Sir, we will now start the Q&A. I request Professor Prasad to join in and start the cluster number 1. Over to you, Prof.
Thank you, Professor Rao. Thank you, sir, for bringing in so much of experience and wisdom into a discussion which is meant to help future leaders. And I'm sure it is extremely relevant. It depends on what we take away from it as much as that. So let me start with a personal question, sir. How has been your journey in leadership? And your last statement was poignant in terms of, the advice is relevant not because of what I may have done right, but all those things which have gone wrong. So if you have to pack that and put it into a journey of leadership that you have, it could be very, very useful for us, sir.
Sure, Dr. Prasad, if you ask me, did I imagine where I would be when 50 years ago? The answer is no. Did I have a plan like today you have counseling, you have coaching, you have everything possible? I didn't have any of those. I was a happy-go-lucky guy, playing cricket all the time. I got a seat in engineering in Usmania University in those days, which is not easy. And my sister was one of the first women in engineering. She said I was unfit to be an engineer because I was playing all the time. She said, you'll fail in engineering. So I gave up engineering, the seat, and those were the days of Telangana and Andhra education, and I took up BCom in Nizam College. In the first class, I remember the lecturer said, BCom means be calm, nothing to worry. I said, I've come to the right place. Oh, wow, what a happy place in the world. I don't have to study, do all that machine drawing, slide rule, T square. And thereafter, coincidentally, somehow, that's a long story, I got into CA, into a firm which became part of Deloitte in 45 years. But those were the days where people went to Middle East to make money, even after qualifying. No, CA remained in India. He first went to Middle East because huge money. India has no foreign exchange, no opportunities in India. We're talking of 80s before India opened up in the 90s. I never did that. The grass on the other side may always be green. I said, why can't I shape my career? Let's work towards. And I always tried to model myself on somebody who's far, far superior. And said, if he can do this, why can't I do? And then work towards. I was mobile. I moved to Jamshedpur, Kolkata, Mumbai, all places. I took on different responsibilities, different roles, all the time being curious and doing more than what was the work assigned to me and trying to understand what others are doing. And that is what the curiosity quotient, because unless you look at, otherwise it's easy for me to do what I'm doing and go home and enjoy, have fun in life. But being mobile, work whole nights, and doesn't matter, train, buses, those were the days. The extent I fly today, I may fly 200 flights a year. I was never doing that in the past. And slowly, once in the organization, I said, how do I get known beyond my office, beyond my function, within the country, within the region, within the globe, outside of my profession, in industry bodies, in society, in the CA profession. So I started, shall I say, moving myself out into social service organizations. So cutting across everything. Otherwise, I could have been a hard-nosed accountant, a bean counter, not knowing anything beyond my profession. So if you want to be a leader, you have to become an all-rounder, plus being good at something. And constantly, as I put in my slide also, or in my introduction, I continued to be part of regulators. I continued to be part of standard setting, technical excellence, in addition to clients, in addition to governance, in addition to leadership, whole host of things contributing across. And that's important. And a lot of it, ask me, it evolved as opposed to did I have a plan? But one thing I had is passion. I had that curiosity, and that hunger even now continues. That's it.
Excellent, sir. I think you have highlighted the curiosity and the energy given by the passion and the stint of continuous learning, not limited to not just what one does, but much, much more across many other spheres, which has shaped you into what you are today. Thank you, sir. I'll come to the next question, and that is, as a country, we have come a long way. And today, with this rate of change, what are the opportunities that India can make the best of, given this kind of change? What are your suggestions in that regard?
See, today, one thing over the years, recent times, which has happened in India, is the pace of development in communication, the pace of development in technology, the pace of development in the financial services ecosystem, which it has missed several buses and leapfrogged to a level which is far better than the rest of the world. Even as I travel today, when you travel in the United States into an airport, you still have to stand in lines for long, and they still look at your ID, everything. Here through DigiYatra, you just your face, you walk in right up to the aircraft. Correct? We have come a long way from the days of rubber stamping on baggage tags and everything. The country has leapfrogged into this, and therefore there will be a lot of disruption which will happen as a result of technology, but a lot of jobs will come as a result of technology. And that's why technology is the core. Also, we are seeing a shift from with manufacturing to services, while manufacturing will be there, it will create lesser jobs because of robotics, because of automation in the way it is. The larger the entity, the more there will be automation and robotics. You'll have less employment. So, but it creates an ecosystem. Look at, you just drive around even Hyderabad. You'll find so many shops for servicing mobile phones. That fellow will replace your screen, will open an iPhone, will do everything. So service providers will be a big opportunity. And look at the e-commerce system, which is giving opportunity for people. People from abroad are shocked. In 5 minutes, I can get at my doorstep. If I order 5 minutes, groceries, etc. So it's creating ecosystem, but it's creating services opportunities. It's creating entrepreneurship opportunities, and everybody can become an entrepreneur. But there are also disturbing factors. The disturbing factors are we are the largest working age population, 450 million people. And a large part of it have skill sets which are not suited to the skill sets which are needed. And a large part could also be in agriculture. So if we don't deploy those people, we will have social upheaval. So and that is why my hard message to everybody is ask yourself, what am I? What are my skill sets? Will it be needed? I may be a great typist, but typing will be an outdated skill. Today with voice activated systems, everything, why would somebody even need? You can speech to text you can have. So great typing speed. I am a qualified typist. I'm a qualified stenographer too, which I forgot to mention. But is that relevant today? Okay, I still type very fast, but it's increasingly irrelevant. And that's the mindset. And to be frank, Dr. Prasad, nobody can predict the future, how it will be, how technology will shape. But all what you can do is start observing the trends and saying, okay, if this is a trend, will a car mechanic continue in the way it is? That's why I gave that gas stations may disappear over. The question is, we don't know when, but we know for sure it will. The question is the pace can change dramatically. And that's the point.
Excellent, sir.
Education.
Yeah.
I have in some courses, they still teach Charles Babbage computer and all. I said, that's not computer subject. That's history subject. If you're talking about, right, you should put that in the right subject, not in computer science.
Sir, you have been in the Big Four. You've been a chairman of one of those firms. You've seen financial services evolving. You mentioned that as one place where technology has made a big impact and we are leaders. The government also talks about doing something similar. Big Four of India, make some sort of AI related to India. So how do you see the future as far as financial services go for India?
You see, I give constant dialogue with over the last several years with various ministries in the government too. And I know this question also has come up. How do you create an Indian Big Four equivalent? Since you raised the most current topic. Now, the Big Four globally, and Deloitte is the largest of the Big Four, will have revenues greater than the GDP of some countries. Okay, for sure. Apart from that, in India, the Big Four and the rest are very, very, very far away. There is, whilst the numbers are not public, there could be an estimation that Big Four revenues in India alone is 50,000 crores. I don't think any other firm could come anywhere, even in hundreds of crores or thousands. No way. So you're talking of that gap, wide gap, and it was not born overnight. It was through a lot of inorganic growth, through mergers and acquisitions, etc. A lot of money being pumped in. So if you want to create Indian institutions, first is you have to remember you can't create Indian institutions or Indian professionals based on statute, by government legislation. You can't do it by protectionism. You'll have to expose them to the real world. And I give two examples, and I've given it to the Ministry of Corporate Affairs also. I've met secretaries in the past and said, let me give you two examples. Take Indian software companies, TCS, Wipro, Infosys, etc. They are world leaders. How did they become world leaders? They used global technology, which is the Microsoft's technology, etc. And they competed with the rest of the world. And today they employ 6 lakhs people. TCS may be employing, Infosys may be employing a few lakh lesser. Look at the number of people and look at the footprint they have across the world. They compete with the IBM, the Cognizant, with all the big names in the world, Accenture, etc., and win work in United States, in Europe, in other places. Do they get government support? The answer is zero. Do they do great work in India? They are already doing so much work outside India that how did it become? It is because there's no protectionism. They said, okay, here are the opportunities across the world, and let's start building on that. They built up organizations when ISD lines data was being communicated, not even the way communication happens today. That's one example. So once you ask themselves if Infosys and TCS can happen, Dr. Narayan Murthy will tell you how he used to go on a scooter and how today the great Infosys is phenomenal. The second example I give in the game of cricket. In the 70s, 80s, India, whenever it went outside India, it would lose. India was always losing in cricket. Today, you have Indian players who are world class. India will be number one in T20. India came to the finals in this one limited over. In Test cricket, also India is great. Quite apart from the recent game, you leave that aside. How did it happen? Because earlier Indian pitches were created for Indian spinners so that we could take wickets in India, but when you went outside India, you could not bowl properly. Your batsman could not face the pace bowling and the bounce. So you created world-class pitches in India. You brought in foreign talent to coach in India. You started an IPL where an Indian played shoulder to shoulder or alongside foreign players, learned how they played and became like them. But we haven't replicated that in Olympics. For 1.4 billion population, where is the gold medal? Isn't it sad? So we need to be able to withdraw legislative protection, quota-based work. You'll never succeed if it's quota-based work. You should come in every manufacturing, 20, 30 years ago. People used to say, I'm an export company, I import. Those days, imported goods usage made in Japan. Today, there is no such thing as made in Japan. A Sony is made in India, Samsung is made in India, LG is made in India. So you're competing with global names in India. So the distinction between imported and indigenous has disappeared. That is what is required. Open up, create the opportunities. There will be a bit of pain. And you have a huge market in India. You have the talent in India, let them loose. And they have done it in the services sector. I'm sure they'll do it in other sectors. I'm very positive, gung ho about it. And that's why I believe we are the second largest accounting profession in the world. We'll soon become the largest accounting profession. We are largest if you combine students too. But we need to catch up and be respected across. And these back offices, all of these GCCs are examples. World transactions happening in India.
I think you've given an excellent example, sir, of how an ecosystem has been created by providing the exposure, removing the protection, and letting minds meet, and the flowering of expectations of Indians finally leading to a reasonable level of success in each of those fields. Thank you, sir. You're at about 7:19. I hand it back to Professor Rao for further queries.
Thank you, sir. That's a very interesting conversation going on. There are lots of questions, but let me prioritize. I'll take one question and take both sides. The same question, it's about the complex world that we are living in. As boards increasingly face these tech-related decision-making in the areas of cybersecurity or data ethics or AI, what is your suggestion to the directors and the CXOs? How should they prepare themselves? So that is the first question, and then I'll flip that question subsequently.
I was asked a similar question in a director's program a few days ago. I am seeing a shift in boards from governance where they looked at performance of the past and then analyzed that performance deeply, saying, okay, we are not profitable, we are profitable, A, B, C, D, or you want this, you want that. The shift is happening to boards preparing for the future. Because let's take care of a pharma company. I'm giving pharma as an example. One of the examples. Now, the shift which is happening in the pharma in these spaces, it is shifting from curative. Earlier, you had all the products, medical products, which cured ailments. Now, the shift is happening to preventive. How can we prevent ailments? And further shifting to wellness. Wellness has also become another thing. So if you have to be saying these are emerging spaces, and there are a lot of new technologies which are coming up in terms of how do you prevent aging, how do you prevent dementia, how do you prevent cancer, not how do you treat cancer, but how do you prevent cancer, what sort of research. And in the pharma space, anything you do today, you can only launch maybe 10 years from now. So where you will be 10 years depends on what you do today, because you'll have to the clinical trials have to happen at various stages, then the approval of the regulators has to happen, then you have patents, then you get into the market. So it will take at least 10 years. So that's why companies are starting to think 10 years from now and say, how will I, what will I do? Like increasingly companies are now realizing because of the disruptions which are happening, it's coming and hitting them hard. They should have thought of it 10 years ago. Rare metals, for instance, China captured the rare metals and 90% of the world's rare metals. Today, EV companies or whatever it may be requires those magnets. We suddenly, even America and France are finding that they've given up everything. They should have otherwise done it much, much earlier. And active pharmaceutical ingredients come a lot from China. So how can we prepare ourselves so that future we have not these vulnerabilities, whether dependent on oil. That's fundamentally the shift which is happening, is preparing for the future. And cyber risk you raised is equally one is because of technology and the risk management is gaining more prominence, including scenario analysis and scenarios which are being played out, saying what if we are disrupted? What if a crowd strike hits an airline and suddenly you can't fly because passengers can't be checked in, which happened in reality.
Thank you, sir. Thank you very much. I'm actually taking a very quick question here. That is, what kind of this has come from one of the participants, I think a young participant who says, what kind of proficiency in business analytics that Deloitte seeks in business school graduates?
Oh, as I said, that formula I showed, curiosity is what we need fundamentally. Fundamentally, it's, you need to start. It's sometimes people think that what they have learned, they come in and apply and they produce the result. It's interpreting that result. Interpreting that result requires the challenge as to why not? Why is it different? I give this example to the auditors many times, saying it's like in the Sherlock Holmes, the dog that did not bark. You should ask the fundamental question, why didn't the dog bark? It should have barked, right? Not that, this is same last year, same this year, same, okay, there's nothing to worry about. Only if there is something different, I start investigating. That is the mindset of analytics. We want that big curiosity mindset. Otherwise, analytic tools will be there. One point I wanted to make, I should have made earlier itself, is what we call an emergence of paraprofessionals. Give a person a gadget, the person is transformed. Look at every auto driver today. He carries a Google map. He knows how to use the gadget. He has better ringtones than I have. Everything. He understands technology. So a 6th class pass with 8 of technology is as good as a professional. And that is what people have to realize. How they use the tools and use their curiosity.
Using curiosity, displaying curiosity and not just the formula.
Constantly challenging the present and why not?
Correct. Yes. I think that's the answer. Thank you, sir. I'll now request Dr. Amit Badra to raise his question.
Thank you, Professor Sudhakar. Sir, my question to you is that you have mentioned very correctly that things are going to rapidly change and we are going to see so many new things, artificial intelligence, business analytics, cloud computing, industrial Internet of Things, additive manufacturing, so many things which are coming in as described by Klaus Schwab in the 4th Industrial Revolution. And, companies are also changing at a rapid pace. Now, the challenge is, are we really creating that kind of a competencies, that kind of talent, which is required in the next maybe 10 years, 15 years? And what is it that academic institutions need to do to work closely with industry to meet that requirement of industry?
Thank you. That's a wonderful question. In fact, I'm constantly asked this question between academia and industry gap. And also the skill sets which are present today, which are the output of the academic world, whether they are ready for the real world. And increasingly in the past, we used to have people who need to be retrained to be able to be deployed. How do you cut short? How do you get a ready-made product so that that product is ready-made available for industry? That's the single biggest challenge. There are multiple things which need to be addressed. And I don't think there's a single answer, but let me address some of those. First is fundamentally education in our whole education system from ground level up has to move away from testing of knowledge or recall of knowledge to application of knowledge. Most of as you go up in school, everywhere they'll say write short notes on, write an essay on this, write answer this. That's recall knowledge. In today's real world, you don't need to recall. Google will tell you, Siri will tell you everything. You need to understand the principles and testing application of knowledge. That's a big failure in the entire system. And that is why as you go higher up in education, I'm sure there are a lot of case studies and scenarios like that. But it needs to start from the very beginning where the child has to be made to be curious and made to apply a principle as opposed to recalling from text. Give them access to all the books, even at every class, and try and see that sort of education. The second is, and pardon me for saying this, I have said that just as people seek internship in institutions, it is important that in the academic world, those who teach also seek internship because they need to be updated. Their updation cannot come from theoretical textbooks. They also need to be in the real world. Maybe it could be professional development programs they are part of, be deeply involved in that. So they come closer to the industries to be able to do it. Third, unfortunately in India, the industry funding in the academic world is insignificant. We need far more industry facilitated research and for funding to the academic development. Because the academic world has great talent. It is not just in the IITs. IITs are able to attract some funding and do a lot of it. But it should be across the ecosystem. Industry should trust the academic world to be able to produce it. And it will help improve the infrastructure in the academic institutions, improve both the physical infrastructure, the technological infrastructure, and the knowledge infrastructure in the academic world. And then they will be closer to industry and respected, as it is in many parts of the world, where the academic world gets a lot of funding from industry. These are just three of the elements I've said. Then it could be syllabus content as to how you are and how do you involve more practical training as opposed to theoretical.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir. Thank you very much for that. There's a lot of message takeaway for the educational institutions, especially in the higher education space, with respect to the interaction that you need to foster between institutions and industry. But as often said, there is a one-way statement always made that the institutions are not updated, the faculty members are not updated, the institutions are not in step with the fast changing world that the industry is actually living in. Is there any one thing that your advice can go to those practitioners, those industry people, that they can keep themselves in tune with the institutions in this crucible of academia, industry, interactivity and productivity? What is the one step that industry folks can actually come forward and take and facilitate, and that will help the large part of institutions?
I'll tell you that. And you read out in my profile, Hall of Fame in accounting. That is given by the academicians. To me, and in most of the conferences of academicians, when I'm called to speak, they call me professor. I used to have to remind them I'm not a professor, I'm not a doctorate. I'm just a chartered accountant moving up in the Deloitte chain in the way it is. Having said that, I think it's important for every professional, every individual, however successful he's been in industry, to go back to his alma mater, to go back to the institutions which created him, and help those institutions facilitate those institutions to produce people like him and start understanding. It's only when you start living with your own wealth and your own cocoon that you forget where you were and who brought you up. Who was that professor? That's why, however, people may say it's optics, etc. When I read a news item saying Mukesh Ambani or whoever went back to his teacher or whatever it is and give him some funds, whatever crores, I don't know what it is. It is respecting that person because that person may not be economically in the same situation as you are. And that is why corporate funding, I say CSR, I also say there is a need for ISR, individual social responsibility. Each one of us must give back to society what gave us. And this, the academic world gave us. We have to constantly be connected with the academic world and help. And that research, there's research lacking in virtually every area. And the worst area is accounting. There's zero research in accounting, and even maybe across the world.
Great, sir. Thank you. Thank you so much for that response. I have another question from a professional who has joined from State Bank of India. He's, I guess, a chartered accountant. The question is, how do you define professional satisfaction and what are the core elements of it? You may relate with some instances of your career.
Very simple. I'll give you a very simple answer. Professional satisfaction comes from being wanted. I can have all my qualifications. I can have a great neon sign board, etc. If I don't have clients coming in after me, I'm not wanted. So what gives me satisfaction each day? The very fact you call me to speak at your program enthuses me. I feel I'm wanted. That gives me immense satisfaction. It's not the satisfaction in preaching. It's the satisfaction in being recognized and being wanted. So as a professional, if I've done something for someone and he believes he has got value out of it, that is important. So if your ability to deliver value, and I tell professionals, gone are the days where you can bill on the basis of time, it's irrelevant. You should be able to bill on the basis of value delivered. And to measure value delivered, it depends on the satisfaction of the person and being happy about it.
Value delivered is a key metric for satisfaction. Thank you, sir. Now I request Dr. Anita Raman to ask her question.
So very good evening. Thank you for being such a wonderful inspiration. It's been an honor to listen to you. Everything that you had spoken is coming out of the heart and it's truly inspired me. And I really thank Dr. Sudhakar Rao Garu and Prasad Garu to create such an immense knowledge week after week, wherein we have all the fortune to listen to such eminent personalities and get inspired. So my question to you is a bit personal, wherein you said PQ plus CQ plus EQ plus HQ. How do you manage, with your time, with your profession, with your travel? How do you manage your time to learn and continuously, inspire yourself and be in that space? So if you can share, do you read books or?
This question is asked also. The way I would relate it to is one thing. I mean, we talk of inequality and equality. One thing God has given everybody is 24 hours in it. Right? Time is the same. And Nani Palkiwala used to say, when he suddenly a case is adjourned, he would go to the law library and read. But he said, time wasted is life wasted. And that's why he worked so hard. People used to take appointments in the plane to the seat next to him in a Bombay to Delhi flight so that they could discuss the case with him. That busy he was. Very hardworking though. But quite apart from the number of hours, I start asking, how can the Prime Minister of a country, he has got the same hours as I have. How does he run a country? How does a CEO of a Fortune 500 company run a country? It is the same. Each one of us has the same time. But it requires you to prioritize. It requires you to be up to date. And I read a lot. I read on Kindle, where I can carry several. I have 1,500 books on my Kindle. It's always with me. If I'm in a car, if I'm in a plane, I'm reading, because thankfully technology enables me to read digitally, which earlier I had to carry all those volumes of books. And it's about general knowledge. It's, as I say, in life, we have to observe, absorb, and adapt. Look around with all what's happening, observe, and absorb what are the right things, and adapt yourself to that. And so is it with reading and time. If you if you micromanage, you'll never be able to do your work. You have to prioritize. Even the world's most senior most person has 24 hours. Yes, sleep. He decides what is priority and looks at the big picture, and that's how you get slowly trained towards that sort of thing. But you're right about continuous learning and reading. That is fundamental, and I admire the academic world for that, because they don't get bored reading, and so do lawyers. They have to read a lot. They call it briefs, but nothing is brief in.
Yes, sir. My second question to you, if I may.
Sure.
When you say industry facilitated research, which is lacking here, and you also said, I also was very curious to know, faculty has a limited interaction with the industry given the kind of, the framework that we are in. So I always feel that, one must go back to the industry, take out some few months, of assignments or do some real work in the industry and then come back and teach. So that sort of a facility, you have any thoughts to share so that, we could bridge the gap between industry and academia?
That one way. You can start one way where you have a lot of visiting faculty as part of your institutions. So the more industry people come and talk, the more you are exposing the faculty also, as much as you are exposing the participants also to that industry person. But equally, I think industry programs are important, where faculty should attend. You see, in life, it is all about whom you interact with, how often you interact with that person, and you pick up. The more you are in those circles, and that's why when Sudhakar Rao asked me the question, I said, my office, my region, this thing, profession, industry body, professional body, society at large, social service organizations, you pick up from a lot of people at different things. And the more you circulate within that different things, people say, okay, why should you be part of the Rotary Club? I go to the Rotary Club because it's not full of chartered accountants. Otherwise, it's easy for me going to meet to a chartered accountants conference where all are CAs. Doesn't help. I need to meet with people in different walks of life. They transmit knowledge to me. I pick up that. It provides me network opportunities. It provides me the connection. So the academic world should also replicate into all of this. Get into industry bodies. Get into social service organizations. You interact with the rest of the world. And very good academicians. I have a high regard for academicians. I feel sorry I'm generalizing. There are a lot of good institutions, but I feel generalizing because universities, etc., are not adequately funded by way of infrastructure.
Right.
Thank you, sir. May I take the opportunity, maybe at the right time, to invite you to our ICFAI Business School and give an inspiring talk like this sometime in future? Truly will connect. It would be an honor.
I will, if it's considered as a duplicate. I will be happy to. I can just tell you, when I was a young boy, one of my role models was Yashasvi, NJ Yashasvi. Right? Because he was a ranker. How can he get first rank? Why can't I get first? How can he in every profession he takes up? Those are the questions I used to ask myself. And I wish I was part of ICFAI in some way at a point in time.
Sure, sir. Now also he could be.
As I told you, was a role model for.
Sure, sir. Sure, sir. That's an honor to hear. Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
Thank you, sir. Wish you were part of ICFAI at some point in time.
Or not, as much as you can relate to all of this and contribute in some small way, either way, and get benefit.
That shall be addressed very soon. I have another person raising hand, Mr. Mani Pramod Vadlamani. Can you please open the mic?
Thank you, sir. Thank you, Sudhakar Garu. Good evening, sir. It's a fantastic honor to actually hear your few words. It's amazing. I mean, the number of the value addition, the way you kind of put those things. It's really the way technology is changing and the impact it has got. I think it's really inspiring and good to know. I think the other area I would like to understand is like, given the number of listed companies we have and the independent boards and directors we need to have, this tremendous gap over there. But is there any way, like a person, a specific field or domain from which they can get onto the boards or become independent directors?
I should have that in one of my slides on leadership itself. Leadership is not something I indirectly put insofar as the respect is concerned. The respect can't be demanded at all. Similarly, any leadership position in organizations, people I've had in my organizations, people tell me that, he got promoted, that got, I didn't get this, I didn't get that. You have to evolve into that position naturally. And that means, like, how does it happen in cricket? You have to play well, you have to score well. You'll suddenly be a magnet for others, and then you become gravitate into leadership. See, all the board positions which I am in, not one is solicited, not one. Everything came because in one of my slides, I've shown building personal eminence. You should be known outside. How will you be known outside? Unless you interact with the rest of the world, you will not be known outside. You should take the pains to attend those events. And sometimes, my biggest regret in my organization was many people I would send them conferences, programs, etc. They would sit in that conference and listen to the speaker and come back. They won't even exchange visiting cards with others to understand who they are along with them. Meet 10 new people. Try and understand. And I think that is where will help you. Any amount of qualification, gone are the days which somebody is going to say a search on the internet and then make you a director, out of question. Your reputation precedes you. Just the same way in the medical profession, you're not going to search the internet, who's the best heart surgeon. The reputation precedes. You'll start asking 10 people, who's the best surgeon, whom you can trust your heart with for life. And I would urge you, Mani, to work towards building personal eminence by getting known.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. Thank you very much. Mani, you have anything else?
No, thanks, sir. No, I don't have anything.
Yeah. So the takeaway from this response is a lot of personal branding exercises you will have to work on.
Right.
In my language. Yeah.
No, correct. Use that also in slides. Branding, personal branding.
Mr. Ramesh, do you have a question?
Yes, sir. First of all, thank you and grateful, Sudhakar sir and ICFAI, and especially Ramesh sir. I'm also myself is also Ramesh. I'm the founder of Money Maths. And I was been preparing for independent director examinations and came through some kind of modules where case studies were where financial shenanigans have been happening. And because the independent directors has been now picking up, most of the people are getting to know about the importance of independent directors. Now, could you throw some light on how the financial shenanigans are not being addressed by the financial professionals as well as the management? Because from the vast experience, who could see the development from
Shenanigans, right?
Yes, sir. Yeah.
Okay. I spoke at Bhavan's college, or whatever it is, on the type of financial shenanigans. And it's a coincidence that you use the same term. But the fact is, so long as human greed is there will be financial frauds. Okay, you can only mitigate frauds. More and frauds are becoming more easier to perpetrate because in the digital world, even more challenging the way it is. Now, you'll never have a zero fraud scenario. But the point I always would like to make is, nobody will find fault with you if you can't find a needle in the haystack. But if you can't find craters or the elephant in the room or the crater in the balance sheet, but there's a big hole in the balance sheet, then you are guilty. And for that, it is when you sit in boards, just to give an example, a board member spends max 75 hours in a year in a company, right? It may be six meetings into 8 hours is 48 hours. He reads all the agenda papers, people make presentations. With that presentation and sitting in that room, closed room in a board meeting, you're supposed to be so brilliant as to discover a fraud. I would challenge any board member, if he can sitting in a room discover a fraud. You need to have that sense of smell. Apart from the sense of sight and audio, you need to have sense of smell. When there is an unusual transaction, when there is funding to institutions which are shell companies, it should raise your shackles. That is where you should put your foot down. That's where you start investigating. You have the powers. You can prevent large financial shenanigans, but you won't be able to. I won't be sitting in a board people to prevent theft of spare parts from my company warehouse. I won't know, because unless I'm the watchman there, I can prevent. But if I am a board member, I can't prevent that. But if something large, yes, and if there are signals, I should have acted. So it's about acting based on what it is. And if you're a finance person, you'll realize there are a lot of signals come through various ratios, through abnormalities, comparisons with others. That's back to my point on curiosity. You should have that high curiosity quotient, a high speak out quotient. If you remain silent, things will go beyond you.
Yes, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Is it the case of the last one, point? How could you sustain this, energy? Because it's like a kind of talk.
What is the question, Sudhakar Garu? What is it actually? Could you repeat the question?
Ramesh Garu. Yeah.
How could you sustain the energy?
How could I sustain the energy? You are transmitting energy by asking questions, right? It's that interaction. It's back to what I said. What drives a person is being wanted, is being asked. If you stop asking, you're all muted, I will feel dull. And that is important. And as academicians, you will know it even better. If in the class it's completely silent, people are morose, you are not enthused to deliver. You want somebody to challenge you. You want somebody to ask you. You may learn in the process. That's the energy drive.
Thank you, sir. Thank you very much. Professor Prasad, you have any last questions so that we can wrap it up after this?
Yes, I do. Sir, you talked about risk management, that being a very high priority item. Now, given this pace of change that we have, what are one or two simple principles that we need to keep in our mind as leaders in terms of management of risk?
The first thing is whilst in risk management, a lot of time we spend is on disaster prevention and disaster recovery, which is the most important. Will your business come to a standstill overnight? That scenario, and are you ready for it? You have to assume your office may be flooded. You have to assume your systems may break down. And the world learned a lesson during COVID. And amazingly, the world adapted to it within a fairly short time. People started working from home. Now they don't want to leave work from home, right? We never thought jobs were possible from being done from home, but they started doing from home. So a lot of time you need to spend on assuming a disruption, and therefore business discontinuity or whatever, business continuity and disaster recovery and prevention and recovery plans are extremely critical. And sometimes this risk management may seem bizarre, people may laugh, but you need to be prepared for those scenarios. Like I have a license to produce something. Now that license what if I lose my license? What's my plan B? Now in pharma industry, this can happen. FDA comes in to inspect your factory and then they find some non-sterile situations and they will say you can't produce. You can't sell this in the United States, you can't produce. So overnight, your ability to produce is gone. Then do you have a plan B? Do you have another factory? So where you can, or do you have another factory where you can produce for other markets? These rules may be stringent. There are many such illustrations I'm giving, but in each business, that's why I gave the example of cloud strike in an airline. What happens if airline systems don't work, check-in systems? Can you overnight be ready for manual systems? Because passengers will keep coming by thousands to the airport. And that is in every business as it varies, you need to be prepared.
Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you, sir. Thank you very much. I want to make a mention here that you have very patiently responded to all the questions from practitioners, from students, from entrepreneurs, and from leaders in tech and leaders from the C-suite as well. Thank you so much, sir. I think what has been very clearly coming out is the investment into oneself, building personal eminence, differentiating oneself, and then make yourself known, have the quotient of speaking out, and having your eyes and ears open all the time. And I think rest of the things will follow. But as a country, we have done great in terms of the consumer tech, in terms of e-com, in terms of our strides in BFSI, so on and so forth. But if you juxtapose that with the risk management, we don't have indigenous email system, for example, that makes us woefully dependent. If something happens across the border, I think all those emails would be lost, just to say a small thing. As we are making a lot of progress years after years, and as we are moving into our own, the dependency will have to reduce, and therefore the risk will be better managed. So that is something that we need to. And on the other hand, you have brought a lot of lessons from the cricketing field to boardrooms, in not just in terms of the pictures that you have shown, but in terms of the flair with which you are bringing cricket into drawing lessons for all of us, in even answering a few questions. We're always at a dilemma, thinking what kind of leader or what kind of captain in cricket we would need. For example, we are bowling against a chasing team, and we are in the last few overs, and they're hitting us bad. Would you stay calm and not chase the bowler, or would you chase the bowler every single over and lose the calm and give away your state of mind to the opposing captain? These are real life tricky questions that we always face, the trying situations that we face all the time in our work, in our life, in our society. But I think as you rightly mentioned, if you are very empathetic, if you think about your teammates, if you think about your employees, your customers, and the people around you, and maintain that quotient very well and balance it without actually transferring the stress that you as a leader, you as a captain is taking, and allow it to sustain, allow it to strike a balance. I think while there are no formulas, some people will have to, in a cool, composed manner, steer the organizations and teams. And we have learned a great bit in listening to you. I must also thank all the participants for their volley of questions. There are many more questions, actually. Some of the questions are already answered by you in terms of responses to the previous questions, therefore we didn't raise. And there are still a few more questions. I'll write to you. Probably whenever you are free, you can respond by email, and I'll share with the respective members who have raised those questions. But the session number 199 has been very fruitful, very interesting. Thank you for sparing your time. And I always request all the leaders to visit our campuses wherever you are across the country. For example, you're traveling, we'll be probably there in that city where you're traveling. So we have about roughly 20 campuses in the pan-India presence that ICFAI has built over the last 40 years. We'll be very happy and grateful to host you, sir. Do let us know. And of course, in Hyderabad, we will definitely seek your help. And as Dr. Anita Raman said, we'll present you to the young aspiring students that we have in our campus.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you for this opportunity. For me, it's an eye-opener too in terms of understanding ICFAI and interacting with all.
Great, sir. Thank you so much. I also want to acknowledge my thanks to Mr. Pattabhiram for introducing me to you, and you have very quickly agreed to speak in our session this Friday. Thank you so much, sir. And all those people who are watching us live, please go to Google Mr. P.R. Ramesh. You will understand pages and pages of his contributions, specific roles on various boards, some of the tough situations that he has handled. All that is available either on LinkedIn or on Google. You can search. You will be able to reach into some final details as well. Thank you so much, sir, for your years of contribution to the Indian industry and contribution to the leadership and contribution to many young professionals who have looked at you and shaped their careers as well. We will continue to be in touch with you, sir. Thank you so much for your time, energy, and
thank you, Dr. Prasad, and thank you, Sudhakar.
Thank you, sir. So, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for your presence. We'll have you again next week. That is going to be the milestone 200th session of the WiseViews Leadership Conversations. Be there. We have a great leader who is going to speak, and it's going to be Friday, July 4th, 6:30 p.m. As United States of America is going to celebrate its freedom, we will celebrate our 200th session of WiseViews Leadership Conversations. It's not planned. It is a coincidence. With US, I'm saying, but it is a planned 200th session. We have a great leader. We will share the communication with you pretty soon. Till then, keep learning, keep growing, and we will have you for the next session as well on the next Friday. Have a great weekend and good night. Thank you.